there has to be a combination of, for me it's a combination of, you know, kindness and ruthlessness. You know, you have to, there has to be room for men and boys to grow and to change, if there is that willingness. But there have to be limits. It only goes so far. Like for me, with my friends and my personal friends, I don't have room in my personal life for very many people who are not kind and willing to change and grow. You know, that's just my own personal rule. I don't have room for toxic people in my life. But, you know, when it's family members or old friends, obviously there's more work that can be done. You know, I've got plenty of room in my own life and in my activism and in my communities for people who have made, you know, have had realizations but aren't quite there yet, who still have growing up to do. You know, nobody comes into the world with perfect politics, and there has to be room for people to change. And I think the change is actually, I disagree that it won't happen in our lifetimes. I think it is already beginning to happen. I think maybe I'm a little bit more positive about that than you might be.
Yeah. If we had this conversation a year ago, I maybe said that was possible. But,
you know, the change is not evenly distributed, right? A backlash is going on at the moment, but at the same time there are more and more, particularly younger men and boys, who are not feeling so much pressure to identify with that traditional masculinity. It's much more of the difference is much more stark. You have people who are going to this extreme anti-feminist, you know, modern masculinist movement, and then there are people who are like, nah, I'm just going to wear a skirt because I like it. What? It's a really interesting process to observe. It's happening very, very fast. But actually, it's all right. I'd like to come back to some of the stuff you said about work, because I think work and how masculinity particularly is very identified with the work ethic and the obligation to work is really, really key, and it's where economics meets gender identity in a very raw and harsh way. So again, coming back to Trump and to Brexit, the idea is that there is a great panic about the loss of jobs. And not just the loss of any jobs, but the loss of jobs that have been traditionally associated with masculinity, and jobs in which men were very much the majority of workers, you know, construction work, factory work, manual labour. All of those jobs are jobs that are disappearing because of globalisation, because of automation, and this is felt as it's an identity threat to men and boys who have been raised to believe that this is the kind of work that they should do. And these jobs are not disappearing because of feminism, right? Feminism has nothing to do with this. These jobs are disappearing because of, you know, technological progress and economic regression. And what jobs that do exist are much more badly paid, and there is less dignity in work, in the jobs that people are able to get. People's, you know, the traditional masculine pride is very much still centred on the idea of dignity in work. And you see at times of higher unemployment and economic crisis throughout history, those times have coincided with a panic about traditional masculine virtue and the idea that there's a crisis in masculinity. It's like, no, there's not a crisis in masculinity, there's a crisis in capitalism, which is leading to a crisis in masculinity. A very interesting study I saw recently was about the way that jobs are changing. It was focused on the United States. And it showed that the industries that are growing, most of them, and they're not necessarily well-paid industries, but most of the industries that are growing and hiring workers are industries that are traditionally women's work. And there are a lot of men out there, this study showed, who are unable to find the kind of work they want to do, but are unable to take on other kinds of work, unwilling to do so because they don't want to work in the care sector, in nursing, in the service sector, in all of these places, but, you know, they view this kind of work as beneath them, when actually this is the kind of work that desperately needs to be done. And there's a whole discussion that we can have about the nature of what work is, what gets to be called work and what doesn't get to be called work. But right now, there is the link between economic crisis and the change in the nature of work and masculine pride, toxic masculinity is really, really important to emphasize. And that is where you hear, oh, women are stealing all our jobs, immigrants are stealing all our jobs, and the nature of work is changing. It is really decoupling the notion of masculinity from a certain kind of labour, I think is really, really important, and a really important kind of source of emotional activism right now. It's.
I also think there's another side effect from that. That I know that particularly in primary education, there has always been a shortage of male teachers. And I remember, when I was in primary school, maybe 2 of the teachers I had in that entire time were male.
So maybe explain what age that is.
Yeah, so this is from age 5 to about 11 in the UK. So it's obviously, formative years. And I really loved, the few male teachers I had, because they were a strong male role model to me. They were, I looked up to them, I respected them a lot. And I think we're at a point where education is so key, and I think, we have this idea of the need for strong male role models and how, not every child gets that at home. And unfortunately, there is still a kind of assumption that teaching, particularly at that age group, is women's work. I think because it's that the kids have a bit less independence, it's once again seen more as childcare than as education. And so we have a real shortage of male teachers who could be doing absolute wonders for, teaching young men how to behave in a positive way, someone they can aspire to be. But if a child doesn't have a good, a strong male role model at home or whatever, or any other part of his life, and this is kind of the one area we can ensure that they get that. But because it's viewed as, I think, beneath a lot of men. They tend to go into higher education because they don't perceive it as being so much of a caring job. Unfortunately, in those really important years.
Undergraduates, it is a caring job. And there are so many. It's role models of not just how to behave, but different kinds of ways that a man can be and can lead a good life, and different models of how your identity what your identity can look like and what your future might look like. If you're repeatedly told that in order to be a man you have to do these things, but you actually can't do these things, so you're screwed. That's not what the end of the story should be for men and boys, I think. But it's none of this means. I'd like to emphasise, because I think we're probably getting to question and answers session pretty soon. I don't think any of this means or should be read as an excuse for bad behaviour, for sexism or for racism. And I'm not saying this is what you're saying at all. I don't think it is. But there is a difference, and what I've come across lately is that people interpret trying to understand where this comes from as making excuses. Men interpret it this way, and women interpret it this way, and activists on the left have interpreted it as saying, oh, well, you're trying to understand and speak to these young men, therefore you're saying that the way their behaviour is fine, the way they're behaving is fine. Absolutely not. But I think it is important to understand the emotional roots of this stuff so that we can stop it happening. Because often you hear so many times, and I've heard it in my personal life, in people I've interviewed, oh well, the reason I behave that way is that I was hurt in this way. The reason I'm doing all this bullshit is that because I never had a strong role model. I never had a chance to be different, and actually I don't think that's the case either. And
I think often in that case a lot of the blame is often attributed to women.
Yep.
I think a lot of the kind of far-right men's rights activist types, there's usually a story behind that, and I think there's kind of there's a lot of sexual frustration and feeling undermined by being rejected by women. And
we haven't really talked about the sex aspect at all here, and maybe we could in questions. I don't know. And on the question of utopia, I'm not dodging the question by saying this, all right? But I think Like, I have a lot of different ideas for worlds that I'd like to live in that are more livable than this, and worlds that I'd like to see. I think the idea of there being one way of having a future that is good and workable and livable is regressive in itself. I've always thought the idea of utopia, of one universal utopia, was kind of, regressive, and at its root, it can be taken to an extreme of being kind of fascist, because that's, often, extreme right and cultist and millenarial movements have this idea of the one perfect world that we will attain if we just, kill these people, or, change this about society, or get rid of these people. And I don't think that's how politics work or how people work. I think it's important, though, for people to have an idea that there might be a future to live in that will be better than this, and I think that's one thing that people have lost. I've been doing a lot of research about the idea of apocalypse, the idea of the end of the world, and if people can't imagine any kind of future for themselves in which, or for their children and grandchildren, in which they could live and life will be tolerable and even better, that's a danger. It's when you get regressive policies coming in, and actually that's why this perfect world idea can be dangerous, because people start dreaming of utopia and of the perfect world when they don't actually think that the future will be practically better. This idea, jam tomorrow is what we say in the UK. There'll be jam tomorrow, there's never jam today. If you don't think that your life will be livable in 10 years' time, unless there is a total sweep and, a complete social collapse, that's when people start to worry. And to bring it back to masculinity, there is a real apocalyptic utopian strain on the alt-right and the far-right, the idea that, young men particularly, are really interested in the idea that civilization is about to collapse, and then, only then will we get to be real men, living in the nuclear wasteland, and, hunting cockroaches, and protecting our women, and, people that, you laugh, but people really think this. I've been on the Reddit threads, so you don't have to. It's really scary. But that's my long dodge of the question about utopia. I think the left's own sexism has held back our understanding of economics for decades, frankly. Who said it?
I think there's almost this kind of, this weird fear, almost a kind of homophobic fear within father-son relationships, particularly as the sons get older, that you don't want to kiss your child, you don't want to hug him, because it's not seen as a masculine thing to do. And so we're depriving boys of a very vital form of love. We're reinforcing these ideas that male intimacy of any kind is to be avoided from an early age, and that is it has really quite profound effects on who we grow up to be. So I think, it comes down to love. I think in father-son relationships, it needs to be explicit. We need to tell our sons we love them and show them that, and not just rely on their mothers to give them that love.
Sympathetic, kind and loving adults of all genders are vital in the life of a child. I do know, I know so many men and boys who have grown up without that positive paternal influence in their lives, and some people, and what makes the difference there is who else is around as well. I don't want to fall into the trap of saying that, boys need a positive father otherwise, and I don't think that's what you're saying otherwise.
No, that's definitely a very kind of
it's reductive and heteronormative. There's kids with two mothers, kids with two fathers, and people who, what kids need is love and support and care, and adults who listen to them and aren't cruel to them. And I think, however you get to that point is it works for a kid.